Welcome to the Private and Public School F1 Exchange Annual Refresher Training. In this training, we will review information included in both Parts 1 and 2 of the local coordinator trainings, which every local coordinator completes when first hired with PSE. We have created this training to ensure the PSE staff is receiving a comprehensive overview of the policies, procedures, and other important information pertaining to PSE. All PSE local coordinators and managers are required to complete this annual training per CSIET standards. Let's get started. As you can see, we'll be exploring many topics in this training, from host family screening, to monthly contact forms, to student support, to departure preparations. You will be provided with important information in the key areas necessary for your success as a PSE local coordinator. Here are important reminders regarding the host family screening. The host family application located in ZAP needs to be updated each year of family hosts. LCs should conduct an in-person interview with all family members present. At least 2 personal references are needed for each host family from the school or community, attesting to the host family's good reputation and character. References are not allowed to be related to the host family. Also, it should be verified that each member of the host family household who is 18 years of age and older has undergone and passed a criminal background check. The host family will need to supply photographs of all host family members, the home's exterior and grounds, the kitchen, living or family room, the student's bedroom with a photo of the made bed, the student's study space, and the student's bathroom. To qualify as a PSE host family, families must use English as their primary language in the home and among all host family members. Provide the student with their own bedroom. The bedroom needs to have a door, closet, and emergency access. For example, a basement, garage, or a room that is detached from the house, such as a room above the garage, is not acceptable. Provide a legitimate bed for the student that is non-inflatable or convertible. Provide a quiet study space and desk for the student. Ensure there is adequate storage space for personal belongings. Make sure the student has reasonable access to a bathroom and in-home access to a Wi-Fi internet connection. The host family needs to provide transportation to and from school and some extracurricular activities, as well as 3 meals per day, unless their student decides to purchase lunch at school. A safe and nurturing home environment, and support, patience, and understanding. Please notify the PSE office if any of your families fall under the following categories: a single woman without children, same-sex couple with or without children, host family who has foster or adopted children. In these cases, additional screening will be conducted. If there is a third party, such as a friend or roommate over the age of 18 who is also living in the home, we will need 2 references and will complete a background check for any third party living in the house unless the third party is a relative. In this case, additional references will not be required. If the host family does not speak English as the primary language in the home, if the commute time to or from school is longer than 1 hour, if either host parent is under the age of 30, if the host family is interested in hosting another student. Also, 2 students who speak the same language should not be placed in the same home unless pre-approval has been given. Same nationality double placement requests are almost always denied unless the request comes from the students themselves. 2 separate orientations need to be conducted before and during a student's foreign exchange experience. The host family orientation, or HFO, should be conducted before the student arrives. Also, remember that the host family orientation needs to be completed on a separate date than the host family interview. Also, the signed host family orientation form needs to be uploaded into the ZAP system soon after the orientation is conducted. The student orientation, or STO, needs to occur within 2 weeks after the student arrives to the United States. Also, the signed student orientation form needs to be uploaded into the ZAP system soon after the orientation is conducted. Remember to have both the host family and student sign and date their orientation sheets. Then, make sure to upload these forms into the ZAP system. The host family orientation is required annually for all PSE host families. The HFO should not be conducted earlier than 60 days prior to the student arrival date. We don't want the host family to forget the information that is conveyed. The student orientation is only required for new PSE students. Returning PSE students do not need a full orientation, but they do need to sign off on the PSE Returning Student Orientation Sign-Off form to verify that they have previously received our orientation and their orientation materials for the current school year. This form is located in the ZAP resource section under Returning Student Orientation Sign-Off Sheet. Also, please note that local coordinators are paid for host family orientations only for original placements and for student orientations for new students, not returning students. Here is information about host family stipends. PSE needs to have both a W-9 and a direct deposit form in order to issue a host family stipend. PSE host families are paid their stipends monthly. Please refer to the host family stipend schedule for the payment dates. A few schools pay stipends directly to the host families. These host families do not need to fill out a PSE W-9 or direct deposit form. If a host family does not host for the entire duration of the month, the stipend will be prorated. Please ask your regional manager if you are unsure of the stipend amount for your schools. We are required by the IRS to issue 1099s to the host families each calendar year for stipends paid in excess of $600. And as a reminder, students and host families should not discuss the stipend payment with each other. If they have questions, they should direct them to PSE. Regarding school enrollment, students and their natural parents have all signed our terms of participation, in which they have acknowledged that re-enrolling at the same school without PSE or their sending agency is not permitted. Students are only allowed to re-enroll with PSE. Sometimes students may try to get their host families to host them directly without PSE, and sometimes they try to get their schools to enroll them directly without PSE. It's important that we maintain strong relationships with schools in order to help prevent this from happening. If you learn of a student who is attempting to convince their host family to host them independent of PSE, inform the PSE office immediately. You can also remind the host family, student, and school that without PSE, they will not have PSE local coordinator support or assistance, a guaranteed stipend, or health insurance. Please report any of these incidents to your regional manager and the PSE office. Here are some guidelines regarding money. Host families should not discuss their stipend amount with their student or other host families. Students and their host families should not borrow money from each other. Money misunderstandings can create distrust in student and host family relationships. Students are expected to have access to at least $250 every month and $500 for medical or emergency situations. Host families should never co-sign on a cell phone plan for the student. Host families should never co-sign on a student's bank account. Students are insured for medical and dental emergencies. Host families should not pay any medical or dental bills. The copay and deductible amounts are listed on the student's insurance card. Now, let's talk about student supervision and the lines of communication. It is important for the local coordinator to ensure that the host family does not interfere with or eliminate the communication between the student and the local coordinator, the sending organization, and the natural parents. The student should always be able to contact the local coordinator. The sending organization serves as the liaison of communication between the natural parents and PSE. Although the student has limitations and guidelines with regards to communication with their natural parents, for example via phone or online forums, this communication should never be cut off. The guidelines need to be fair and reasonable. Field staff and host families should not contact the sending agency or natural parents directly. This applies even before the student arrives and during the student's program. We already have a distinct line of communication established, which needs to be followed. If the host family is communicating with their student and the natural parents want to say hi or introduce themselves, that is fine. But any requests or exchange of program information should be communicated through the PSE office and sending agency. The PSE office should be the only one to contact the sending organizations. Having this streamlined process helps to prevent or eliminate potential issues such as conflict of interest, language barriers, and misunderstandings. Remember, the local coordinator needs to immediately report changes in the host family's circumstances to the PSE office. If the student tells their natural parents about a change and the sending organization is not aware, it poorly represents PSE and the sending agency and can damage trust. It's very important to be proactive. Examples of changes that need to be reported are if a family member moves in or out, the host family moves out of their house, loss of employment, if there are criminal charges against a host family member, if the host family has new contact information, if the host family is going to host another student either short-term or long-term. This situation always requires approval before another student moves into the host family home. Or if the host family is considering fostering or adopting a child. In this situation, an additional level of screening will need to occur. As a local coordinator, you will need to report a sick or injured student in need of medical attention to your regional manager as soon as it is reported by the host family. Please make sure to provide as many details as possible so that the sending organization and the natural parents can be properly informed. Now, we will discuss PSE's time requirements with regards to student supervision. Local coordinators are required to meet with their students in person every month and in the host family home every other month. You can meet at the mall for ice cream, coffee, pick them up from school or practice, or at a birthday outing as examples. If you meet them at the home, make sure to speak with them in private so that they feel comfortable sharing their feelings without their family present. Local coordinators should not meet with the student in the host family home behind closed doors. If a private meeting needs to occur, you should take the student to a quiet place for further discussion, such as a coffee shop. In the event you cannot meet with your student, you should contact them by phone to complete the monthly contact form, not by email or text. The local coordinator should speak with the host family every month and meet with the host family in person in their home every other month. Here, you should go into the home, preferably with all the host family members attending the meeting. In other words, dropping the student off and waving to the family from the car does not constitute an in-home visit. When you meet in person, this will give you the opportunity to see the other person's body language, facial expressions, and gestures. You'll gain a lot more insight about how the person feels and what they're thinking. Let's review some important reminders regarding monthly contact forms, or MCFs. These reports should be an accurate reflection of their current situation. When meeting with the student and host family, make sure that you're speaking to them separately when you're asking the monthly questions. This will give them the opportunity to be more candid and honest about their experiences. If you'd like to ask these questions during one of the student activities, that's okay, as long as you speak with them separately. Remember to never ask your student the monthly questions or attempt to resolve any issues when in front of other students. This should be a private conversation without any interruptions. Also, you should never threaten to send a student home. We have a corrective action process that needs to be followed, and threatening to send home the student is strictly prohibited. Current grades need to be included with every MCF, with the exception of the very first report. For the first MCF, a completed host family expectations worksheet needs to be uploaded in place of a grade report. Please note that it is a PSE requirement that we have a monthly grade report for all students. Most private high schools have an online grade portal with a password in which you can check on grades. We highly recommend you contact your school to be given access for all your students wherever possible. If you do not have direct access to the students' grades, then it is the student's responsibility to have their teachers fill out the MCF grade report available in the ZAP Resources section. The student needs to return the completed report to you, their local coordinator. Current grades should be uploaded into the MCF in order for the submitted reports to receive credit. You may upload the grade report from the grade portal or use the MCF grade report, which is available in a fillable PDF format. Uploaded grades should be clear and legible. If the online grades are not legible, it is important to use the fillable version so that the sending organizations can read them easily. Finally, please inform your students that if teachers are reluctant to give grades because of upcoming exams, ask them to estimate so that the report can be submitted on time by the 25th of the month. An MCF without grades cannot be accepted. If you experience difficulty receiving grades from the school on time, please contact your regional manager. Here is an important note. Please include pictures of your students doing notable things. When we read through MCFs, we use this information to create our blog posts, which can be found on the PSE website, pse-edu.org. These reports are translated and shared with the sending organization and natural parents. They always appreciate seeing photos of their children involved in activities such as their student performing in a play or on an excursion with their host family, involvement in a community service project, participating in a robotics competition, or involvement in a sports activity. With regards to tutoring, students are expected to maintain a C or better in all classes. If their grade falls below a C, the LC should assist them with setting up a tutor. Ask the school first about free tutoring or recommended tutors. Another helpful resource is wiseant.com. Tutoring typically costs around $30 to $50 per hour. Also, please complete and upload the tutoring session report with each MCF. This form is located in the Resources section of ZAP. Now, we will explore how to handle conflicts when they arise. Effective communication between the student and host family is critical to a successful exchange experience for everyone. Here are some best practices. Please make sure all your host families and students fill out the expectations worksheet to improve communication and avoid conflict. Gather all the facts before forming opinions. Things are not always as they seem. Also, be sure to speak with both parties to make sure you have all the facts. Remember to avoid language that suggests blame when discussing the problem. Implement a mediation session between all parties involved and follow up with phone calls and additional meetings. PSE offers a Student Support Issues training which explains how to conduct a productive mediation session and how to effectively handle and report specific student issues. This training is located in the Resources section of ZAP. Seek help from your regional manager if the situation escalates and further intervention is required. If the student is experiencing a behavior problem, then they will be clearly advised of the changes required to successfully continue on the PSE program. In most cases, a positive action plan will be given. If all attempts for a resolution fail, it will be necessary for the LC to find a new host family for the student. If relocation is deemed necessary after mediation has failed, please contact your regional manager to proceed with the steps for securing a new host family. The new host family will need to go through the same screening process as all host families. Also, no student is allowed to move without approval from the PSE office and a completed application. Please note that if any situation arises where the safety or well-being of the student is in question, then the student will need to be removed from the host family home immediately. All attempts to address, mediate, and resolve placements issues should be made before deciding to move a student. PSE will not authorize a student to change their host family unless there is a serious conflict between the student and host family, several attempts at mediating a situation has been made without progress, and or a genuine emergency takes place. If relocation is deemed necessary after mediation has not been effective, please contact your field manager to proceed with the steps for securing a new host family. The new host family should go through the same screening process as all host families, and no student is allowed to move without completing the application and screening process and receiving approval from the PSE office. With student relocation or a student move, understanding how to prevent this from occurring is the key. Here are some ways to prevent student relocation. Help foster consistent and effective communication between the student and the host family. Don't ignore warning signs or red flags. Do make sure that the host family is included in the action plan process. They should have one as well as the student. Following the host family and student mediation process is critical. Follow up regularly after a mediation to ensure everyone is doing their part. As it is outlined in the student move checklist, the following steps need to be taken if a student move is deemed necessary. First, inform the regional manager that you are requesting a student move and obtain approval from PSE. Then, identify the new host family and send them the host family application to complete. Send student move information to the RM and PSE via email as soon as the new host family is identified. Review the host family application of the new family to ensure that the information is complete. Meet with the family and complete the HFI and upload into the ZAP system. Call the host family references and upload the forms to ZAP. Then, verify with PSE that the host family application and background checks are complete. Conduct the HFO on a different date than the host family interview and upload the signed form to ZAP. Email PSE with a confirmed move date. Please provide at least 1 to 2 business days before the student is moved so that PSE can inform the sending organization and natural parents. Finally, assist the student and host family with facilitating the move. What if your host family tells you that they're no longer able to host their student and that the student will need to leave their house by the next evening? What do? One of the basic local coordinator responsibilities is the ability to provide emergency housing for students. A designated emergency family is a family who is pre-screened with a host family application on file and ready to host a student in the instance of an emergency move. It's important to be proactive and have a designated emergency family in place, whether it's your own family or another, so that when emergencies happen, you can respond quickly and efficiently. Please contact your regional manager if you have any additional questions or need assistance. There are essentially 3 steps to the disciplinary process with regards to behavior issues. 1 or more steps may be skipped based on the nature or seriousness of the infraction. As you become more experienced with this process, it will be easier to determine what approach to take. Always seek coaching and direction from your regional manager and contact your PSE office before proceeding with any official disciplinary procedures. First, the student will be given a warning and letter of encouragement. Some behaviors might be seen as borderline or based on extenuating circumstances. Certain behaviors may be justified but not acceptable depending on the situation. Second, the student will be put on a positive action plan. This is a notification of behavior which is compromising the quality of the program. Here, the student is notified of the unacceptable behavior and given goals to work on. Lastly is probation. The student is given a very strict set of guidelines to adhere to that will determine their eligibility to continue on the program. If this occurs, the regional manager should also speak to the student directly. A PSE permission to travel form needs to be submitted if travel involves the student traveling alone, the student going to travel with someone other than the host family, the student traveling internationally, which includes Mexico and Canada, the student traveling on a plane, or if the trip will be longer than 72 hours, or if the student will be missing school. Here is the general process for student travel approval. First, the student will need to complete a Permission to Travel Request Form, or PTR. The travel request form should include a detailed itinerary with phone numbers and addresses of where the student will be staying, and should include the host family's signature. Permission to Travel requests are available in orientation packets and in ZAP. If the student will be missing any school, they should receive a school official signature on their travel form to verify approval. Then, the local coordinator or regional manager will submit this form to the PSE office. All travel requests should be submitted to the PSE office at least 2 weeks prior to the departure date. Please remember that travel should not be booked until approval is granted. The travel requests are approved based on the original information provided. If the travel plans change, PSE approval needs to be reconfirmed. Students and host families should report any changes immediately to their local coordinator. It is the responsibility of the student to notify the PSE office or the local coordinator of any changes. If approval is not reconfirmed, then a student may face disciplinary action or possible program termination. Now, let's talk about student medical insurance. First of all, students should carry their PSE ID card and insurance card with them at all times. If they have non-issued PSE insurance, the insurance card would have been given to them prior to departure from their home country. Please ensure that the student and host family call the phone number that is listed on the insurance card to find an in-network doctor who's covered by the insurance. If a student sees a doctor that is out of the network, they're responsible for the bills and will not be reimbursed. Host families should never sign any documents regarding medical payment responsibility. If a clinic or hospital requires a signature in order to treat the student, they should list the guarantor as the student's natural parents or as private school exchange, not a specific person. If the clinic is not able to work with them, please have them contact PSE. The insurance card, medical release form, and student ID, which lists the host family, should be presented to the medical provider to receive treatment. It is wise to have an extra copy of all student documents in a separate file at the host family home. Another consideration is when to go to the urgent care versus the emergency room. If a student is seen at the ER, they're not admitted to the hospital, they will be responsible for a $350 copay and $50 deductible as listed on the insurance card. As a rule, always go to urgent care unless it's truly an emergency. Here are some examples of what is typically covered and what is typically not covered by our student insurance. The following are typically covered by insurance: a sprained ankle, antibiotics for infections, an emergency room visit after an accident, a visit to urgent care, or necessary hospitalization. The following are not typically covered by insurance: immunizations. It's also important to note that we should have the natural parent's permission for these. School physicals, eye exams and glasses, routine dental or orthodontic care, any pre-existing conditions, or treatment for allergies. Here are some examples of what is mandatory to report and what is not necessary to report. The following are examples of what would be mandatory to report: an emergency room visit after an accident, a health concern requiring a doctor's visit, a dental emergency of any kind, any necessary hospitalization, any repeat condition, for example, headaches or stomach issues. Also, any animal bites or scratches. The following are examples of what would not be necessary to report: a cold or common flu, a minor cut or bruise, a minor headache, any minimal or single occurrence health concern. Remember to contact your regional manager immediately if there is a serious health concern. Also, always contact PSE if there are any questions about explanation of benefits or bills received. Now, we'll talk about what procedures to follow in the case of specific emergencies. For accident or illness, host families and coordinators are instructed to always seek medical attention for the student when needed. The student's insurance card and medical release will need to be presented to the medical provider to obtain treatment. It is wise to have an extra copy of all student documents in a separate file in the host family home. For serious medical emergencies, contact the PSE office immediately by calling 877-222-9803 or 503-222-9803. This is a 24-hour emergency answering service. It would be a good idea to program this number into your phone for easy access. After calling this number, Then proceed with the doctor's advice for emergency treatment. The PSE office will contact and relay information to and from the natural parents abroad. All students will need to complete insurance procedures as outlined in the insurance section of the student handbook. If you receive information that a student is missing or has run away, immediately call the PSE emergency number listed above. Contact your local law enforcement agency as soon as you have determined the student is missing or has been abducted. Do not delay in reporting a lost or missing student to law enforcement. Now, we will explore best practices and requirements pertaining to students' departure and preparing them for the return home. Students will need to depart from their host family's home within 1 week of the last day of school or graduation. Please request flight information from your students in April and include this information in the MCF for that month and/or email it to the PSE office. PSE is not a summer program and students are not allowed to stay during the summer months. We do not provide oversight, stipend, or insurance during this time. Try to get all your returning students' placements confirmed before they return to their home country. Assist your returning students with finding storage for their belongings for the summer months. Make sure your students clean their rooms, pack, and prepay for any boxes that need to be shipped home. Make sure students resolve any outstanding debts prior to departure, for example, copays, medical bills, and cell phone bills. This concludes the PSE Annual Refresher Training. After completing and passing the Annual Refresher Quiz, you will satisfy the PSE requirements for this training. You should now have an even more comprehensive understanding of the most important information pertaining to PSE's policies and procedures. Please reach out to your regional manager for any further questions that you might have. Thank you for your continued support of and contribution to the exchange experience. Your efforts make a profound impact on our exchange students, host families, schools, and communities.